Villains are a widely important part in a story, and very few are as cunning, as skilled, as powerful, or as versatile as Victor Von Doom, the arch-nemesis of the Fantastic Four who is set to appear in Avengers Doomsday, and Thanos, the Mad Titan, the grand rival to the Avengers who has tried countless times to usurp the natural order of things, and at certain points managed just that, for personal accomplishment or for attempting to please death. Both have insane feats, have achieved godhood, and have won against overwhelming odds. But when it comes to who is the superior villain, many may be wondering that answer in great depth. In this video, we will mostly explore the base Earth 616 versions of Doctor Doom and Thanos within the Marvel Comics. And along the way, we'll explore the stronger, alternate versions to see who truly is the ultimate Marvel villain. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
They'll never know it. Because you won't be alive to tell them.
Thanos has long been one of the biggest powerhouses in Marvel, from his capability to smile and evenly fight a power gem, Warrior's Madness Thor, which is a Thor amped by 10 times, to fighting his father Odin pretty well for some time, withstanding a clash with Tyrant who could slap around the Silver Surfer, who has given Thor a hard time, Gladiator, Beta Ray Bill, and Terrax at the same time. He's also bullied Thor and the Thing at the same time, and slapped Hulk and Drax. These great feats of power were accomplished thanks to his genius enhancements, training, and natural prowess due to being an Eternal with a deviant gene, giving him that traditional dank purple look. He has done a lot of insane stuff without the need for an Infinity Gauntlet or the Heart of the Universe. One thing that I would like to make very clear in this video is that Thanos is mighty not because of the Infinity Gauntlet, he is mighty because he is the Genghis Khan of the Marvel Universe. He has fought in countless battles, has expert hand-to-hand combat capabilities, has dealt in the mystic arts like Doctor Strange, and is likely the one behind Deadpool's curse with not being able to die. He has the ability to kill beings who were born in a realm without death. He has mind control capabilities, life draining, energy projection, and insane technology, like shields potent enough to take hits from Omega Thanosi, a Thanos clone stronger than Galactus himself, and his shields could also withstand a hit from the aforementioned Amp Thor. He has casually beaten the hell out of the Silver Surfer, who even in the early days, was capable of having enough power to blow away entire galaxies with his mighty power cosmic. He's even gone as far as being able to overpower and scatter 4 canon iterations of the Silver Surfer at the same time, and he even managed to kill a Tyrant amped Jack of Hearts, and could resist the effects of the reality gem used by Tyrant as well. And he should be at least comparable to the Norrin who managed to kill Tyrant even while amplified with the Infinity Stone, which have evolved and adapted drastically as opposed to when they were famously used by Thanos in the 1990s, as they have even gone as far as gaining human forms very recently. So it's fair to say that they were dealing with an amped or modified version of the Reality Stone within Tyrant at this time. He has absolutely insane levels of durability, since even while dead, his body was able to survive Galactus' power cosmic wave, which wiped the Annihilation Wave clean from the galaxy and could wipe out multiple solar systems. He could withstand a supermassive black hole with a 2 light-year radius, which is pretty insane to think about how much mass and pressure he is dealing with, considering a black hole with a roughly 9mm radius has the mass of the entire Earth. So it's fair to say that if this is 2 light years across, he is likely dealing with a massive solar system cluster or entire galactical ranges of mass. He could even reform his appearance even after being warped by the Nexus of all realities, and even managed to somewhat match a nerfed In-Betweener's energy blast to break out of his prison, with this being embodying dualities themselves. He slapped around Beta Ray Bill, who in his fight with Stardust shook the entire Infinite Universe, and he's also been able to catch a punch from Blackheart, who has showcased power and ambition strong enough to usurp his father Mephisto, who ruled over Hell, and who even defeated the Avengers, including the Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Jane Foster Thor, who was comparable to base Thor at the time. He's tanked multiple blasts that could kill Gladiator, Thor, and Hulk, and that even managed to pierce through Galactus and the Celestials themselves. He could quickly reform from being reduced to a skeleton by a cosmic artifact far superior to the Infinity Gems, which as we know, these stones together, even while being used by someone as inexperienced as Nebula, are strong enough to fight against several manifestation or avatar bodies of abstracts like Eternity. He could even kill an avatar of Eternity alongside Adam Warlock being able to wipe out Infinity. Unless you think the little trinket they had amplified their power, which is certainly possible but not stated, and it seems more so like a reality warping tool rather than a straight power amp. But given that he was even able to free Death from a cage crafted by Eternity, it's not far-fetched that he has evolved massively since the classic days. His mind attacks and resistance are crazy, as he has been able to subdue Drax, mind control the Hulk into fighting the Avengers, even though he showcased high levels of mind resistance before, and he's even withstood a mental confrontation with Moondragon, who is one of the most powerful telepaths in Marvel, and has even shut her out when she was amped with the Mind Stone. Albeit not commonly showed, Thanos can indeed fly, such as when he fought against Star-Lord. His technology is so advanced that even current Iron Man found it hard to comprehend how to turn on one of his future bots after nearly a whole day of analyzing it. Thanos has outsmarted beings such as the Silver Surfer and Galactus, who are geniuses in their own right, and even have crazy senses, like when he made Norrin's incredibly complex ones believe that he was dead, or when he tricked a starving Galactus into a planetary collision trap. People also famously bring up when Squirrel Girl, Marvel's version of Arale or Saitama but on steroids, beat up the supposedly legitimate Thanos, and the Watcher, who has even better cosmic senses and awareness than the Silver Surfer, was likely tricked by it since Thanos establishes after that even the most gifted telepaths or most cosmic of beings, or even clones virtually comparable to himself, also cannot tell the difference between a clone and the real him. Infinity Abyss also cemented the foundation for the clones years before these comics anyways. So just like with Doctor Doom or Darkseid, the writers like making up reasons for why these adversaries supposedly lost an encounter. The Purple Deviant has even been able to smash through a temple made from a Celestial's bones, which is certainly far tougher to break than Vibranium, Uru, and Adamantium, that's for sure. Most importantly, he was able to contend with King Thanos, who was able to kill off every hero and villain on Earth, and around the universe like King Thor, Iron Man, Galactus, the Celestials, and the Living Tribunal through unknown means. He may not have been able to kill the full multiversal forms of the Abstracts, but killing just their avatars is pretty crazy enough already, considering they can exist at the highest levels of reality beyond 16-dimensional spaces. King Thanos did want to die at Thanos' hands, so you could argue that he wasn't going all out, but they were still fighting each other in the encounter, so Prime Thanos should skill to an extent, and not to mention King Thanos thought that the only one who could really kill him was himself, which probably implies that even the other Abstracts could not do that. Point is, base Thanos has showcased the capability to battle on levels at or higher than when he had the classic era Infinity Gauntlet, and with skill from Adam Warlock, who can move in a realm without space and time, and Thor, who can travel to infinite universes instantly, and he's straight up been able to fight and move within a null realm when he and Mistress Death went to vanquish Rot, who threatened Eternity. This ascendance had been teased before, such as in Thanos Annual, where Thanos discusses his eventual ranking placing him alongside Cosmic Abstracts. He also straight up survived all of existence being erased, somehow, but this might have more so to do with his properties of being beyond the dualities of life and death itself, and he even came back from the void after Doom had killed him in Secret Wars. And scaling from Thor and Hulk, who have fought Abstracts, it only makes sense that he would be this powerful, given that he also got amplified by the God Quarry after passing its soul-judging trial, somewhat similar to the one from Bleach when Ichigo had to overcome his holification during Urahara's training. But in Thanos' case, he would have become trapped in the quarry if he didn't pass. This location is also known as the Quarry of Creation, and it is a graveyard of cosmic gods and eldritch entities that failed the test, similar to how one of the DC Sourcewall properties was to imprison dangerous foes. Although he was ultimately outmatched in raw power, he was able to recently contend somewhat with Mistress Death, who had decided that she had enough to do with the Mad Titan. But during the run, he was seen as a big enough threat that even with a team consisting of Emma Frost, an insanely powerful telepath, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Blue Marvel, who could battle the Sentry and at one point even kill the Beyonder, also known as an Ivory King, thought they needed the Hulk to decisively defeat him, implying that their roster may not have been enough, or at least they would have at least had difficulty in dealing with Thanos, even as stacked as their team was. And at the end of the Thanos 2024 run, he even managed to turn Death herself into the Black Infinity Stone, although he states that he cannot control it quite yet, but he does plan to somehow destroy it. The current Phoenix comics also seem to build up an eventual confrontation between Jean Grey and a dark energy-empowered Thanos as well, since they even state that he's hunting her, and the official summary of the issues say that Phoenix has to go beyond her limits to make a stand against the Mad Titan, so it basically evens out that Thanos would get some type of amp as well. It's also worth to mention that they mean that she would still have to get stronger than the amp she obtained to defeat a more powerful reborn version of Gore the God Butcher in earlier issues. He was even confident that he could roll up against 2 Infinity Stones in human forms, and they even admitted that they would need backup against him, even though their range was amplified beyond their normal levels due to them being so close to each other, and Thanos even remarks that they did become stronger as well. So he's basically fighting amped Infinity Stones at the same time. And to deal with the Space Stone, he predicted where he would go and was outright said to be a fast contender to deal with in general. The narration even goes as far as saying that he isn't 3 steps ahead of his opponents. He is never playing the same game to begin with. Kind of like some Eisen type that his opponents were thinking that they were playing on the same chessboard or rule set, so to speak. But as you can see, base Thanos is easily within the hyperversal to outerversal levels of power. Thanos in the Infinity Ending trilogy gets a hold of the Astral Regulator, a cosmic artifact vastly more powerful than the Infinity Gems, which beings within the norm, or beings that can die or are contained within dualities, cannot obtain it, and its purpose is to keep the stability of each reality. With this device, it allowed him to become one with all of time-space and absorb the very abstracts, including Death herself, Galactus, and so much more. The feat of acquiring the Astral Regulator wasn't a small task either, since the Living Tribunal stated that even beings like Eternity and Galactus are prone to its lethality. He also manages to defeat Eternity and Infinity at the same time. In this state, he was able to manifest in a timeless and placeless realm, become all that is, and was, and could endanger the entire multiverse and beyond that, which was not foreseen even by the abstracts. It also gets even crazier when you realize it's technically not a singular Thanos, since the Prime Thanos fused with his future self who guided him towards the assimilation of reality after he defeated the Living Tribunal. Not to mention, he's also fused with the Infinity Stones as well, amping his power even more, and giving him immense soul and mind control. He was even able to obtain entire control and merge with the above all others, or at least an avatar of him at least, which does seem to be the case given that the Mad Titan stated that he was merely a part of the whole entity. The Heart of the Universe iteration of Thanos can do a somewhat similar thing, but on a far lesser scale, as it did not manage to challenge the one above all's avatars. But he did manage to defeat many of the heroes and the abstracts simultaneously, and even absorb them too. It's certainly contentious if Thanos really did usurp manifestation bodies or the true multiversal forms of the abstracts, but this power-up should far extend above the Cosmic Cube or the Infinity Gauntlet at the end of the day, which even Thanos states. Regardless, his Astral Regulator form should easily be in the high outerversal ranges due to being able to endanger everything in creation as stated by the above all others himself. Before we get into the next contender, I'd like to give a huge thanks and appreciation for RTP, Roaring Thunder Pursuit. He has been the homie for quite a while. He supported the channel a lot, and he's just an all-around great guy. And I really hope you guys would check out his video of Mewtwo vs. Infinite, which I think you guys would enjoy because of its amazing animation. But yeah, tell him I sent you, and let's get into the rest of the video.
You who refuse to appropriately wield your cosmic powers. I, on the other hand, shall use them to enslave an entire planet, and after that, perhaps a universe as well.
As for Doctor Doom, he has been showcased as being one of the most intelligent minds out there, and he is definitely one of the most versatile as well, due to his mastery over technology on par with Reed Richards and Tony Stark's own, and complex understanding of the highest level in almost every scientific field. He can fly, create and dispel force fields strong enough to withstand attacks from even mad Celestials for 27 minutes, who could fight an amped Galactus. He can craft machinery capable enough to shut down Scarlet Witch's powers. He can absorb immense amounts of energy from beings as strong as Watchers, Galactus, and even the Beyonder, who viewed even the abstract avatars under him, and who could perceive and fight on infinite levels of reality. He has mastery over hacking, has time shift bombs, he can redirect attacks with a psionic refractor, and he can even swap minds with others, which he has used multiple times. And he's even showcased powerful defensive and offensive spells, and can even summon mindless ones, who even in their weaker iterations are powerful enough to throw down with Hulk, Thor, and Think Tiers. He was also capable of absorbing the energy from Saranda, who was so well versed in magic that she could tamper with Thor's Mjolnir and turn it against him. And Doom being able to deal with such a weapon is consistent as he has analyzed and harnessed his energies before. He can even cast the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, and he even has healing magic like he used in the bout with Scar, and even if his armor was compromised, he can teleport elsewhere. Within one of my most favorite Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange stories, Triumph and Torment, there was a wizard tournament meant to determine the next Sorcerer Supreme, And although Doom didn't win it, he came second closest to reaching the title, and it's commendable to mention that he wasn't knocked out in the contest to begin with, and to prove that he could hold his own against some of the greatest Mystic Masters, he disabled his armor's shield and weaponry so that they couldn't try to cope and say that he only beat them or outplaced them because of his technology. He'd also scaled from suppressed Doctor Strange, who can shield spells with a potency amplified by 100 times, with Strange even commenting that Doom has showcased crazy expertise even though he admitted to not being an adept, and his style of spellcasting seemed like Strange's own methods. He wasn't trapped by his own Crimson Bands of Sidorak like Doctor Strange, but he was still recognized for not being hit by the Mystic Crystal's power, while many other renowned sorcerers had fallen to it. Because of this, he was able to request the help of Doctor Strange to train him and free his mother's soul from the clutches of Mephisto's realm. And although he had failed numerous times beforehand by himself, he was able to survive and come back nonetheless. One of his best big brain plays within the same issue is when he tricks Mephisto into thinking that he would willingly betray Doctor Strange's soul to save his own mother's life. But in actuality, he had given Doctor Strange a device which helped him free himself from Mephisto's trap, and by releasing Cynthia Von Doom's redeemed soul after rejecting to leave Mephisto's realm due to Doom's apparent betrayal, they managed to shut out Mephisto because they basically proved that, she was worthy of, coming back. And so the two masterminds of different worlds successfully defeated the Dark Lord in the end. Although his martial arts prowess isn't commonly used in his battles, while his armor was EMP'd, he gave Black Panther a beating, and he's even taken a hold of Daredevil's body and did Daredevil. He's also beaten up Taskmaster, who has copied the martial arts styles of other high-tier combatants, like Captain America, Iron Fist, who has trained in realms beyond space and time, and has infinite techniques. So to say that Doom can keep up with such high levels of skill is an understatement. His mind defenses are also insane, as he was able to shut out Red Skull with the brain parts of Professor Xavier, who has been able to battle the Phoenix Jean Grey on infinite levels of existence simultaneously, and whose psyche in combination with Magneto's created Onslaught, who was nearly unstoppable to the point that even Savage Hulk couldn't beat him on his own, although he did manage to crack his shell. His will is also unmatched by most characters even within Marvel, as he has endured centuries of torture in hell, and has even survived while his heart was turned into stone and his blood was turned into acid by the Marquis of Death. The crazier part is that while being sent millions of years into the past, he spent all that time mastering the mystic arts to such an extent that even the cosmic mutant could not detect it. Which is pretty insane because this dude has even summoned Eternity Manifestation bodies and other gods to fight for him. His speed may not seem Flash or Silver Surfer level, but trust me, he is definitely able to keep up with those tiers just off of his combat record, scaling from other heroes and villains, and just being able to keep up with Mephisto tiers multitudes of times, and Dr. Voodoo across numerous dimensions. Recently, Doom has showcased even greater feats since he was able to somehow overwhelm and imprison Hela, a Hell Lord, who is tremendously powerful, so much so that if she were to battle Mephisto, they would create an Armageddon beyond even that of Ragnarok, which is the death of all Asgardian gods like Odin and Thor. This is consistent because Doctor Doom has held back Nightmare, who is a Hell Lord comparable to Dormammu, Mephisto, and Hela. These beings exist in pan-dimensional realities of Jungian nature that is infinitely beyond even the infinite levels of the main Marvel universe, and contain entities and concepts that are formless, shapeless, senseless, or beyond natural laws. These Hellords and comparable entities are outright referred to as being extra-dimensional representations of abstract concepts. Beings like Dormammu have been able to fight Eternity Manifestation bodies before, and as we know, Strange, who has trained Doom and views him as a comparable threat, has fought the Dark Dimension's ruler on multiple occasions. So base Doom should be within the hyperversal or outerversal levels of power as well, and the magic that he and comparable characters utilize is beyond scientific absolutes and beyond mortal understanding, which isn't far-fetched going by how the cosmology works. And Doctor Strange has actively used sound beyond the fabric of sound, or how sound itself is understood and used. Doom has always been very adept in magic, but now he's even better, given that he has recently become the Sorcerer Supreme. I would like to mention that with this highly elevated status of sorcery mastery, he was actually able to recently battle against the X-Men, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four all at the same time, even when they were specifically preparing to fight against them, even when they all tried using different techniques that they had never used before, and even different combos that Doom or anyone else had ever seen before as well. But he was handling it like he would with anything else any other day. And just like with how the Scarlet Witch did to the X-Men several years ago in the House of M event,
Victor also managed to temporarily shut off the powers of his adversaries to further escalate his victory, especially considering that many of these characters are easily those multiversal, hyperversal, to even outerversal ranges, yet all of them were handled like really nothing.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Although an alternate reality from the main 616 universe, judging by everyone's attire, Doom was able to give a vastly amped Galactus a good fight with a giant Doom bot to such an extent that it was basically stated that if Doom had fought any other version of Galactus, say his transcendental form that could manifest alongside Eternity, his Lifebringer state which could fight abstracts with ease, or his vastly amped state he used in order to prepare for an encounter against the Black Winter, who ate away the previous multiverse, making it of high outerversal nature, he could have won or at least held his own much better. He did lose the encounter, but he managed to just barely survive using his magic. Which is even crazier since this Galactus managed to not only defeat the Earth's heroes, but also the special forces of space and even the Celestials, with one Celestial, even a fodder one, being infinitely beyond the power of Odin and most Hellord level beings, as we have seen in the battle with the Allfather and the Armored Creators. After being rescued by Valeria Richards, his goddaughter, he receives numerous amps like the Super Soldier Serum, the Blood of a Celestial, and even an Uru and Vibranium armor powered by 3 Cosmic Cubes, which allowed him to fight 3 Molecule Men, Heralds of Galactus, which is pretty damn insane because we have seen Molecule Man put an entire Omniverse, a collection of multiverses or a multiverse itself, in a box, or fight against the classic Beyonder in every level of reality even while being heavily and mentally suppressed. Speaking of, the Cosmic Cubes are not just an immense power source, they are actually proto-embryonic states of Beyonders themselves, and even incomplete ones have allowed people to usurp Celestials or challenge abstracts. Meaning that Doom in this state practically has 3 power sources that rival, are comparable to, or outright surpass the pre-Retcon Beyonder. A formless entity who can interpret reality on infinite levels. He casually flexes power beyond most of the abstracts, at least the avatars, and he sees existence as a drop of water in an ocean. He also has some sort of mental battle with Phoenix Rachel Summers and tanked her blast straight up, and although he seemingly got overwhelmed by Rachel during this time, the Beyonder wanted to learn more about humanity and other concepts that seemed alien to him, so he was likely not going all out, and he even implies that if he really let himself open, that she could have a shot at him. One of his biggest flexes is that he was stated as being able to end the entire multiverse with a dream and being power beyond power itself. Which is pretty crazy to say considering that Doctor Strange had pretty much seen every abstract and fought multiversal to outerversal threats on the regular before even encountering the Beyonder. And he was even immensely shocked after looking into the Mortal Shell's true essence. However, even as strong as he is, even after several power-ups and him undergoing through arcs where he was trying to find out who he was and how emotions and other concepts work, he has outright stated that within the white-hot room, which extends beyond the realm of the Beyonders, that he could not take on the full power of the Phoenix Force, which means that it's far beyond the scope of all of the abstracts as well. Keep this Beyonder info in mind as well, as it will be important for the composite overview. On top of all of the other enhancements which gave him massive multipliers, one of them being the Super Soldier Serum, which, knowing Valeria's genius mind, is likely far superior to not only the one made for Captain America, but the one that made Sentry, which had granted him power to match powerhouses like the Green Scar Hulk and Thor, likely granted him some power cosmic level amp, going by how the Silver Surfer and Nova were normal humanoids, but got amplified enough to fight those Thor and Hulk tiers consistently. So defeating 3 of those Molecule Men simultaneously, which are likely amped by the power cosmic, is absolutely insane. Now, there isn't a set multiplier for a power cosmic amp, but to picture how insanely it can boost you, Frankie Ray, one of the earlier Heralds of Galactus, went from being a regular human to blowing up stars casually from standard Galactus' power. Now imagine the boost a Molecule Men would get from a heavily amped one. Unfortunately, we never see the conclusion to the battle between him and Galactus, but I would put my money on Doctor Doom winning the encounter. I'd also argue that this is the strongest form of Doom, bar none. Of course, another infamous form of Doctor Doom is his God Emperor Doom state, which, yes, everyone and their grandmothers have referenced or know of the scan of him fodderizing Thanos and ripping out his spine, which is pretty damn raw, not gonna lie. But I would like to make it clear that this was an Amp Doom versus base Thanos, so it's not really fair, right? During the Secret Wars 2015 event, the Beyonders, random ideas given form, who reside in a realm beyond eternity, and the Far Shore, a high outerversal realm beyond realms outside and transcendent to space and time on every conceivable level, managed to start assaulting the entire multiverse and defeated virtually everyone in their way, whether you were someone as strong as the Celestials, Eternity, or the Living Tribunal. They were all fodderized. With the help of 616, Molecule Man, and Doctor Strange, Doom was able to harness some of their power after they bombed the hell out of them with countless Molecule Men, which should give him power well beyond that of Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, who defeated every embodied abstract like Eternity, who is the universe and all of its realms personified, and the Chaos King, who could destroy almost the entire Marvel multiverse. And that was even before it unleashes true form, which God Doom should still scale above. Although immensely powerful, he did have some difficulty in taking care of Infinity Gauntlet Black Panther and Phoenix Cyclops, but he did eventually beat the out of them. Either way, due to that showing, it's likely that he isn't as powerful as the full prowess of the Beyonders. This is mostly because we have seen the Living Tribunal imply that he has comparable prowess to the Gauntlet before, like when he brought back every abstract that was erased or banished by Adam Warlock, yet even he was killed by the Beyonders. He's also called omnipotent, but he's not omnipresent and definitely not omniscient as implied by Doctor Strange, and he's likely not fully omnipotent, but he's still like pretty high up there, which Doom doesn't contend. Regardless, he's easily a mid-outerversal to high outerversal level threat in this state. Another interesting form of Doctor Doom that has appeared recently is Doom Supreme, an alternate version of Doom that wiped out alternate versions of Doctor Doom and became the sorcerer and necromancer supreme of his reality, who possessed dark arts beyond any mortal that had ever wielded it in any reality. This dude managed to defeat the Avengers of the ancient times, which includes Starbrand, the Ghost Rider, Odin, and the Phoenix Force. Even an amped Man-Thing, who safeguards the outerversal nexus of all realities, was unable to defeat him. He said that he had conquered everything in his reality, which would include even the manifestation bodies of abstracts, and to make matters even more crazy in Alpha, he could break the minds of other Doctor Dooms, which is unheard of given that they have insane willpower. He even blocked two Mjolnirs clashing at him, and even his shield can withstand the cosmic fire of Old Man Logan imbued with the Phoenix Force. Victor has outright claimed that he has defeated countless Sorcerer Supremes across his travels, which would include Doctor Strange variants. He was even able to keep up with Avenger Prime and break out of his mystic chains, and Avenger Prime is pretty crazy because he is a variant of Loki who is powerful enough to defeat Galactus alongside Celestials, an Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, Gorda God Butcher, and a Cosmic Cube amped Red Skull at the same time, but in order to do so, he had to sacrifice every living thing in the universe, and he could also single-handedly wipe out an entire army of Doom variants and even a horde of Mephistos. But as strong as he was, he somehow got turned into stone. This was because he absorbed too much power from the first firmament, which was the very first hyper-massive universe and whose fragments developed into entire multiverses after the Celestials and the Aspirants went to war. Although, it's good to mention that this wasn't through his own ego, because he actually got messed up by the heroes, amplifying the amount that he was absorbing. So it's possible that he could have harnessed its power without any tampering. And to make matters even more radical, he was capable of shooting a hole through Mephisto, who at this point could kill and absorb a ton of alternate versions into himself. So it's easy to see this Doom being in the high outerversal ranges as well, and is likely even stronger than God Emperor Doom. When it comes to who would win in a battle, it essentially comes down to who can output enough damage the fastest and overwhelm the other first by dwindling their chances of recovery, or keeping their backup plans from taking effect. And honestly, while analyzing their power sets and attributes, I think it's very fair to say that base to base, Thanos should be far stronger and more durable, at least when it comes to raw power. And him fighting heavy hitters even while being jumped more often than Doom would prove this. Skill and hand-to-hand wise, they should be quite similar at first glance, but honestly after analyzing it more, Thanos definitely has more credibility in this department actually, due to training Gamora, who is one of the best assassins in the Marvel Universe, right up there, if not beyond the scope of Black Widow and other high-tier combatants, with her outright being referenced as being the deadliest woman in the galaxy and even the universe. It wouldn't be fair to say that he is as skilled as her, or that he taught her everything, but he did teach her the foundations very well. He also straight up styled on Champion, an Elder of the Universe, who is well renowned for being one of the greatest fighters in the universe, and whose whole shtick is to battle everyone in the cosmos in hopes of finding a challenge, akin to Boros from One Punch Man or Battle Beast from Invincible. They are both capable of outsmarting each other though. Doom does have a great advantage being that he can summon goons to fight alongside him, And although it wouldn't be fair to say that base 616 Doom is as well versed in the dark arts as Doom Supreme, he should still be pretty formidable, especially due to him being able to fight against Chthon alongside Scarlet Witch with a Dark Hold and use its spells in unison. And he could probably even summon dead minions to fight for him, but then again, Thanos could just counter them with his Death Energy Blast. The combatants should have comparable levels of speed since both of them have kept up with similarly leveled opponents like Thor, the Silver Surfer, Hell Lords, Abstracts, and so on. But I'd say that Doom probably has the better agility and maneuvering. Their technology is quite comparable, but I would give Doom the slight advantage here, given that Thanos emphasized the importance of acquiring one of Doom's time machines, inferring that he thought one of his own designs wouldn't quite, amount to it. Not to mention, Thanos hasn't really used his technology in combat recently and hasn't for a long time, so to say that Victor is more open to using his gadgets could give him a worthwhile advantage, especially since he has even amplified his armor and other gadgets with magic. Speaking of the mystic arts, Thanos supposedly has an impressive power set, but he hasn't showcased it as much, or, has showcased as much mastery as Doctor Doom has, which even Doctor Strange has stated surpasses his own knowledge in dark ways. When it comes to natural abilities, I'd give Thanos an edge due to his impressive mind hacks and defenses, which even prior to his power-ups, was able to prevent an Infinity Gem being from tapping into his mind, which should rival or surpass Doctor Doom's feats of resisting Emma Frost and a Professor X amped Red Skull from getting inside his head. Then again, Thanos has shut out current Emma Frost shortly after fighting Hulk and Doctor Strange, so he should have the slight edge here. Although Doctor Doom has used his mind transfer before, he hasn't used it on beings as strong as Thanos, and going by the Mad Titan's past trials and willpower, he would likely just be able to break out of it. All in all, Doctor Doom would likely come out on top in this encounter with high difficulty because of him having a massive magic advantage and comparable if not superior levels of technology, which should help him overwhelm Thanos' immense durability eventually. Funny enough, the official Marvel website, which gives us stats for the characters, has both adversaries equal in the fields of energy level, durability, fighting skill, and intelligence, with the only differences being in speed and strength, which Thanos has the advantage in. But at the very least, they are seen as comparable by the official writers or whoever oversees these profiles. When it comes to their highest levels of power, it would be probably about as close, if not even closer than their base forms, but Thanos in his Astro Regulator state would be stronger, likely, due to him not only being amped by the Trinket which has more power than the Infinity Gauntlet, but he has the power of all of the Abstracts and the Infinity Stones, which open up the opportunities for soul and mind shenanigans in the battle, which Doom cannot really counter as effectively with the Cosmic Cube power-ups he obtained, which are more so spatial and time hacks oriented. Although harnessing the power of the Beyonders made Doom immensely powerful, he not only didn't have their full power, but he did have difficulties with beings with the Infinity Gauntlet, even though the full power of the Beyonders would have been well enough to one-shot them. Astro Regulator Thanos would have wiped them out without any difficulty too. Doom Supreme, or the vastly amped Doom from Doom 2024, would have a better chance. However, going by Doom Supreme being bested by taking in too much of the First Firmament's power would make that unlikely, since Astro Regulator Thanos has power on a comparable and potentially of an even higher scale, depending on what you see as being higher in the pecking order, the energy from the First Firmament's carcass, or the avatars of the One Above All. In which case, that would mean that Doom wouldn't be able to successfully absorb Thanos' power if he tried. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the heroes did affect the amount he was absorbing, but regardless, it was just a mere fragment of his power and not his full capabilities to begin with. However, his magic should allow him to fight back against the Infinity Gauntlet's might. The Doom with the Cosmic Cubes would perform as good if not even better than Doom Supreme, but still lose due to Astro Regulator Thanos having more power-ups, with some already rivaling or surpassing Doom's own. Take for example the classic Infinity Gauntlet being outright superior to the Cosmic Egg, a Super Potara fusion of 30 Cosmic Cubes, called Cosmic Containment Units, which is far more than the sum of their parts. And even more involved Cosmic Cubes, like Cubic, stated that their might was below that of true Celestials, yet he cut bucks up the classic Beyonder and even mentored his next evolution, Cosmos. Reed Richards even stated post-Secret Wars 1 and 2 in Infinity War that 5 Cosmic Cubes already rival the Infinity Gauntlet and the Beyonder's power, but it stated later in Infinity Crusade that even the hyper-merged Cosmic Egg wasn't on the Gauntlet's scope, so they might have retconned it. But then again, Thanos has stated even during more recent comics that with just one, he can challenge the Infinity Gauntlet. There are even higher ends for the Cosmic Cube if you consider a late 1990s crossover canon called XO Man of War / Iron Man in Heavy Metal, which outright has an omniversal threading event from several multiverses imploding and falling over like dominoes. I was looking more into it to see if this is considered canon to 616, and this issue was released under Valiant Comics, but Tony Stark's armor is unlike any I have ever seen, and the canon models released during the time frame of that comic do not match anything there. Although, Iron Man does say in the issue that he recognizes the energy signatures used by the villains in their scheme, which might infer it is canon or has some sort of past connection within the canon stories. There's also a similar cataclysm which is stated in the official guidebooks and takes place in official novels. So it does depend on how strong you interpret the cosmic cubes and if you consider that other comic canon. Regardless, the Astral Regulator far eclipses the heart of the universe, which in itself already transcends the boundaries of most cosmic cubes, if not all of them, and the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos surpassing the above all others is also narratively a greater feat because it's one of the few times the being has gotten directly involved with the crisis, with even the avatars being able to manifest in the House of Ideas, which stands on an even higher scope than the Phoenix and the Beyonders. Combine his power and durability base-to-base advantage alongside him being outside of death with such massive power-ups, and he's likely the victor in this scenario. Thanos even implies that it is better to be an abstract than to control or harness the power of an abstract because you are not in full control. He's also straight up accessed these cosmic devices and power-ups more times than Doom has as well, so he would also be better attuned with using them to battle, thus granting him an experience advantage. And again, Doom would basically be fighting a fusion of two Thanoses because of them merging. Doom's technology has allowed him to analyze and quickly learn years of advanced mystic knowledge in mere moments, and he even managed to absorb the Beyonder's power. So he could probably try to do the same thing with Thanos' energy source and hold his own much better. It's also not really clear how highly the Astral Regulator Thanos really compares to the current Beyonders in the Phoenix Force, or if it's canon to 616 at all. Because although Jim Starlin's work seems to work within the 616 universe and the vast majority of Thanos' stories are written by Jim and reference canon events, including the Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War sagas, and when Thanos took over the heart of the universe, plus the canon Thanos Annual from 2018 also references it. There's more proof I could bring up that his work is generally and mostly canon, but one that strikes pretty hard is the Thanos Sourcebook from 2010, which references Thanos' quest to obtain the Cosmic Cube, the Infinity Gauntlet, his scuffles with Tyrant, and of course, when he obtained the Heart of the Universe. So at worst, most of Jim Starlin's work on Thanos is canon to 616, but later stories seem to be based off of 616 but offshoot into a variant of it, I guess similarly to Doom 2024. In summation, Astral Regulator Thanos would easily scale massively above pre-retcon Beyonder Doom or God Emperor Doom, and narratively speaking, he likely absorbed the Phoenix or at least a part of it, which even at the time of Infinity ending, it was still seen as above most of the abstracts, and was generally outmatched. Another possible win con for Doom is if you think that the Astral Regulator's influence and range is only within one reality, similar to the Infinity Stones. But going by the pecking order, the one above all avatar that was usurped with the artifact should logically be superior to the Phoenix Force and the Beyonders or Kings in Black. At that point, the best way to explain this is that Cosmic Cube Doom or Doom Supreme would have great influence even outside of the multiverse, but would lack the higher nigh omniscience, omnipresence, and toolkit that Astral Regulator Thanos would have. I guess it's worth mentioning that Astral Regulator Thanos was not immune to time paradoxes, which is a weakness Doom may exploit. And then again, it wasn't really just through a time paradox that Thanos was defeated by, because Adam Warlock had to tap into his psyche, while Pip the Troll and Thanos' brother Eros went through time to melt his cold heart, i.e. giving him affection at parts of his life, so that he would not go down the same dark path again. Plus, the main Thanos was being held hostage by his future advanced self and wanted out. They managed to save Eros from being absorbed by future Thanos, who he needed greatly, in which case, this distracts him well enough for Prime Thanos to take control once more and undo the whole mess. So even if Doom could exploit time paradoxes, it wouldn't guarantee a win. So yeah, overall, both of these characters are absolutely insane in what they have achieved and are quite the powerhouses to the highest sense. Although I'm more acquainted with Thanos and have been for a longer time, I cannot ignore the clear advantages that Doom has over the Mad Titan. But yeah, do you agree with my verdicts? Who do you think would win? And what matchups would you like to see? Please let me know. Thanks for watching, and peace out.